So, you want to hear a story, huh? One about treasure hunters. Have I got a story for you?
Borderlands, arguably the father of the looter shooter genre, with 4 mainline games, 3 spin-offs, an official tabletop RPG, and a 5th mainline installment getting a surprise announcement at Gamescom with the 2025 release under its belt. And it's safe to say that Gearbox Lightning in a Bottle franchise is still going strong after almost 2 decades. For those that may not be in the know about Borderlands, how about I give a brief rundown about the core story of these games. In this game's world, there are interstellar treasure troves called vaults. As you play as one of 4 vault hunters to explore Pandora, or in the case of Borderlands 3, across different corners of the galaxy, you uncover the secrets and reap the rewards that can lie inside of these mysterious vaults. But you aren't the only ones that want to know what's in those vaults. There are folks in this world that want to open them for their own gain, and it's up to you to stop them and look badass doing it. Now that we got that little tidbit out of the way, let's talk about the movie. What has been said that this movie hasn't been said before? To be frank, this film has been torn to hell and back, and I can't say the frustration isn't justified. But what I'm here to do is give my own personal thoughts as a longtime fan of this franchise, and add on what I think could improve this project, not just for Borderlands fans, but for general audiences, which looks like what this movie is trying to appeal to. Well, let's get started, shall we? Roll the tape! Our film begins inside of a space prison, which holds captive our main MacGuffin, Tiny Tina, as she is being rescued by Roland with the main mission of returning her to her father, Atlas. As they make their escape fighting the Crimson Land soldiers, we are greeted to Tina's friend and protector, Krieg, and also secondary villain, who gets easily knocked out with ease, by the way, Commander Knox. With those characters out of the way, we cut to everyone's favorite vault hunter.
Not a vault hunter.
Sorry, bounty hunter, Lilith, who is on Promethea to enjoy some downtime before turning in a faceless target as she gets ambushed by Atlas Corporation representatives. She makes quick work of them, but gets greeted by the big boss himself, ready to give her a job to retrieve Tina for him, as she is residing on Pandora since Roland mysteriously defected from his objective. Lilith reluctantly accepts because she hates her old home, but money talks. Now, the journey truly begins. When conducting her search for the elusive child, she comes across the capitalistic Russian gunsmith Marcus, and
I'm a Hyperion brand CL4P-TP, possibly the last of my kind still in service. But you can call me Moxxi. You accidentally shot me in the face again. As I was saying, you can call me Claptrap.
a Hyperion steward bot that is unknowingly drawn to our main lead's presence on Pandora and is her companion for the rest of the film. Claptrap helps Lilith find Tina's last location due to him having access to the Echo Net, and the hunt continues to the junk heap that Tina and her guardians live at. Lilith, ready to signal to Atlas that she found the girl, gets bamboozled and has to deal with her, Krieg, and the army of Crimson Lands that now has 3 of them cornered. But in the nick of time, Roland comes to their aid, so all of our main characters make their getaway. Now skipping ahead, after the team manage to escape Atlas soldiers, they make their way to Sanctuary City to find a vault expert that Roland knows, so they can help locate the vault and the rest of the vault keys so they can open it with Tina, the alleged daughter of Iridia, which is why Atlas started this manhunt, because he wants to be the one to open it first and harvest what lies inside. Disguised in Sanctuary, they meet up with Moxxi, bar owner and insider that helps the group get to the person that they were looking for, Patricia Tannis. Lilith rejects siding with Tannis due to the cliche, "You abandoned me when I was a child" shenanigans.
I am basing my assumption that you're upset on your body language.
Perceptive as ever, I see.
Because of your mother.
No, because of you. She trusted you to take care of me. You ran back here to chase after that mystical Iridian vault bullshit.
I left you with tradespeople.
Oh, yes, you mean the murderers and thieves on the mining ship.
It's what your mother wanted.
She wanted me to learn how to kill by the age of 10?
How to survive. I had to come back here to finish her work. She believed the Iridian Vault had the power to change things for the better, and
She traded her daughter for a waste of time.
Also, if it seems like I'm speeding through this, it's because there's barely anything of note in this movie. I'm just trying to give you the important parts in the most digestible way that I can manage. If you are curious about this movie and want to check it out in its entirety, it is currently out on digital. Okay? We got that out of the way? Alright, back to the video. Lilith separates herself from the group only to get greeted by Tina, who gives some insight on why she is willing to put herself at risk opening the vault. It is because she is a test tube clone child apparently made from a sample of Iridian blood that was on the vault key that she now possesses. Yeah, we'll get to that later. The moment gets cut short when Claptrap alerts the gang that Crimson Lance are hot on their trail since he blew their cover roaming around the city. Of course, they easily escape and head en route to the Bloodshot's territory to retrieve the second key. Using Claptrap as a diversion to distract the horde of Bloodshots,
You got me. Okay, I'm dead. How about that?
they sneak into their loot stash where the key is being kept. Lilith manages to find it because...
Just lucky, I guess.
yeah, she's lucky. We'll go with that. Only to face the bandit horde after Claptrap yet again blows their cover. Long action sequence ensues, and the team has to escape the bandits while sacrificing Roland in the process. Once again, we'll get to that later. Back to the others, they narrowly escape the speeding elevator they're trapped in because of them mysteriously being teleported to safety, believing it to be Tina that saved them. They retreat to a cave to recuperate, and Lilith breaks off from the team after having the Atlas tracking beacon repaired by Claptrap, since it was busted after Lilith's first encounter with Tina. Lilith gets second thoughts, selling Tina out to Atlas, and destroys the device only to be greeted by him anyway via search drone. He warns her to relinquish Tina and get paid like they discuss or die along with the others that came with her. Either way, he plans on getting Tina so he can open that vault. Lilith doesn't rebel due to her not wanting to hurt anyone, which makes her look bad in the eyes of nosy eavesdropping Tina on the back end of the conversation.
Tina, look, I know how this must look, but
I'm the only one who can open the vault. And I'm gonna use whatever is inside to kill him. Too bad you won't be around to see it.
wait,
Enjoy your freedom.
Tina! Tina, no!
Lilith gets knocked out, and Tina, along with the others, leaves the vault location without her. Lilith wakes up and gets escorted by Claptrap to her childhood stomping grounds. She finds her old home, and upon seeing Lilith's old drawing of the Firehawk, Claptrap blacks out and pulls out a whole R2-D2, revealing that he was holding a secret dying message from Lilith's mother.
If you're seeing this, I'm afraid I didn't make it. I'm so sorry that I sent you away. I didn't want to, but as soon as I realized what you are, what you might become, I knew you'd never be safe here in Pandora. But if you ever return, I've made sure that Claptrap will find you. Help you understand your destiny. Lilith, I love you. I wish I could hold you one last time.
Now, understanding her stake in this mess, she leaves to find Tina and the others. Over at the chasm, it is revealed that they found the location of the vault. They place the keys in their spot, Tina steps up to the pedestal, the music swirls, and... plot twist! Tina is not the one to open the vault, which was Lilith all along, who opens the vault to secure the safety of everyone by Atlas's command. But since Atlas is the big bad villain, he inevitably betrays them, causing another action sequence to happen. Once the dust settles, Atlas, holding Tina hostage, demands to see the inside of the vault. They enter, and Atlas, blinded by his own hubris, finally getting what he wants and ready to reap the rewards, gets outwitted by Lilith and reaps what he sows by getting snatched and eaten by the vault monster. Judging by those tentacles that we see here, it was most likely the Destroyer from Borderlands 1. But I digress. Now, with Atlas gone and the Crimson Lance defeated, the day is saved. The team goes back to celebrate at Sanctuary City. We get our last moments with Marcus and Moxxi, alongside brief cameos from Ellie and Scooter. You know, Moxxi's kids. And finally, Lilith gives this movie a send-off by flying into the sky and shining the symbol of the Firehawk. That was pretty lengthy. Well, now you know about the movie. Let's get into my thoughts with this movie. Considering this was a movie that was almost a decade in the making, it really does feel like a movie that came out a decade too late. There is just so much about this movie that feels so dated, from the tropes to the jokes to just the entire vibe of this, and I'll go into depth about that in a moment. In the meantime, how about we briefly talk about the things that I liked? Because don't get me wrong, I hate this movie, but there were some flakes of good in here, and that I feel really deserves some spotlight. So, starting off with...
Hello, passenger. My name is Mark. But of course, you're not here for small talk. You are here to find the vault.
The guy who played Marcus nailed it. Honestly, one of the few things that I felt was really pulled from the game. The impersonation was so damn near perfect that on my first viewing, I thought they casted the actual voice actor to take the role. You could tell this person really enjoyed playing this character because he had the mannerisms and the expressions down packed, pretty much on point. Dude honestly deserves his stars. I really wish this was a better movie because I would have loved to see more of him in that role. 10 out of 10. Next up, Claptrap. To give some insight into my personal thoughts, I was one of the few that liked Jack Black's casting for Claptrap when it was first announced. And it was the only casting that I really liked, honestly, from every announcement back then. And if I'm being completely open and honest, I enjoyed his portrayal. He was another that I feel nailed the mannerisms of the existing character. Would it have been better if they had the original VA? Most definitely. But I'd say Jack Black gave a solid performance. Only gripe that I have is that I wish they gave him the voice effects that Claptrap has in the games, because it pretty much sounds like Jack Black, just making his voice slightly higher. Well, now on to Krieg. Not much I really need to say, honestly. They picked the perfect guy to play him. His quips felt like they were straight out of the games, and the guy had the perfect build and look. Didn't really have much to work with, but he was fun to watch when the movie gave him something to do. And lastly, I'm going to give props to the set design and prop department. A lot of the sets looked real solid, and I'd say Sanctuary City and Moxxi's red light was a visual highlight. And a lot of the guns looked good too, the Infinity pistol being the most recognizable. Even loved the movie's version of the Marcus munitions vending machine. Another gold star and a round of applause for their work. Honestly, they really deserve a lot of credit for that. Honorable mention goes to the VFX for the hollow heads. Loved the idea for the visual. It was a solid effect, and I enjoyed the Easter eggs to the cosmetics from Borderlands 3 that were on display. I would honestly like to see the hollow head idea referenced in a future game, maybe. Now, on to everything else. Oh boy, where do I begin? Well, let's start with my biggest problem with the movie. The action, to put it bluntly, sucks in this movie for a myriad of reasons. The biggest one being that there's really no stakes for the main characters. No matter how dire the situation may look, the main cast will always come out unscathed. Lilith takes a head-on explosion, no scratches, or even an ounce of soot. Claptrap gets riddled with countless amount of bullets, he just shreds that top layer off, and he's good as new. Lilith takes a head-on collision with enough force that renders her unconscious, not even a small bruise. Remember how I said we'd get back to Roland's sacrifice? Well, he takes an entire tidal wave of ravenous bandits, and when we get back to his aftermath scene, every single bandit is dead with some kind of visible damage, and he emerges spotless. Spotless! Krieg's mask is broken, and it's the only thing that gets damaged and stays damaged. Even Lilith's jacket magically comes back after it's disintegrated. There is nothing else that remains retained. And there's nothing that really makes you believe that these characters are in any sort of danger. Now, I understand that the games make you take a lot of punishment and your character model is unscathed, but bear in mind, it's a first-person game where you're really not going to see that detail at all, so you can get away with not going that extra mile. This is not a game. This is a movie. There has to be some kind of indication of risk, or you're not really going to get the same result, in my opinion. You can't even really use the excuse of it being PG-13 because look at Avengers Endgame, for example. The characters get messed up and you can see visually the consequences of their skirmishes. But enough about that point, let's go to the next. The fact that there really isn't any flow of choreographed action. Well, good choreographed action. Pretty much two people mainly do something to move the action forward, and that's Roland and Lilith, and all they pretty much do is shoot their guns with their bottomless magazines, while enemies run into their bullets or fail to land a single shot on the protagonist until they manage to get away. Krieg is pretty much a breath of fresh air because at least he's a brawler, but that's few and far between. It just pretty much makes everything monotonous feeling, seeing Lilith twirl her gun, shoot, and twirl again, or Roland awkwardly try to make himself look cool trying to defend himself. There has to be something unique happening to try and break things up and keep it engaging. Best example of my point being the Freebird Brawl in Kingsman or the hallway fight in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in my opinion. And lastly, the action is very much held back by the fact that they're not pushing the PG-13 rating to its limits. With the amount of killing that goes on in this movie, it feels like someone wanted to top it off with some bloodshed, but that just wasn't done due to the movie trying to be borderline squeaky clean to try and safely maximize eyes being on this movie. And don't get me wrong, I don't blame them for that, but at the same time, it's ironic pulling a stunt like that for a series that is known for its gratuitous amounts of gore, and then plopping Eli Roth, who is known for their gory horror flicks, into the director's chair. Pretty much the Thresher scene, that is played in almost every trailer, is the only bit of gore that you're gonna get with this movie, by the way. But let's say you want to try and make it work in PG-13. Not saying it's impossible, but how about we try to have fun with the elemental effects like in the games? You know, show them getting electrocuted, set on fire, frozen in ice, or seeing bandits explode in a change of yellow nuclear light like in Borderlands 3. You know, just something to creatively push the limits of the PG-13 violence while sticking to the core style of the games. Hell, it could probably add some visual humor to the action too, but I digress. I'm going to set that can of worms down and move on to the next one. The writing in this movie is abysmal.
Shone through. A prophecy that one day a daughter of Iridia would open the vault and restore order to the broken planet. Yeah, that sounds like some wacko BS, right?
Oh yeah? You in what army?
The one right behind me.
The whole thing everyone talks about.
I don't want to. Roll the window. My mouth.
Sardine showers.
It's pee. It's pee. Now I got pee all in the middle of my truck.
Correction, it's 67% urine, 14% fecal matter.
That's not correct. No.
everybody just settle down.
Psycho Raiders find us first.
Those are blood shots. Raiders live above, not down here.
There are no raiders down here.
Tannis, nobody's talking about Raiders.
What's the big deal about Raiders?
I know, but you brought up raiders.
How about we forget about it?
I understand.
Blood shots are down
You
here.
keep bringing up raiders.
Tannis, I swear to God.
What? I'm expelling the excess lead. Oh, big bullet coming. Oh, there we go.
You do this another time.
This has to happen now. Don't judge me. What? How is this funny?
Keep it down.
Do I judge you when you blast out alone?
I think these very much highlight what I mean. A lot of the dialogue in this movie, without exaggeration, sounds like the low points of MCU dialogue cranked up to 11. And that's saying a lot, because I am pretty much a diehard MCU fan. But with this movie, a good 65% of the lines are just jokes and visual gags that don't land, which is not good for something trying to be an action comedy. Not saying that the Borderlands games are the peak of comedy writing. Both tend to suffer from kid who thinks they're the funniest in the room syndrome. But I could say that I honestly could tolerate the worst of Borderlands 3 humor more than the best of the Borderlands films humor. But when it's trying not to be funny, it's just boring and predictable. It's everything that you've seen before from an ensemble cast with a chosen one type story. But now that that's out of the way, we can wrap it up by talking about, with the exception of Krieg and Claptrap, these guys are not really a good representation of the characters, both visually and in writing. Starting with my personal elephant in the room, Tiny Tina. Look, no shade to Ariana Greenblatt. I honestly liked her acting in Barbie, and I can tell that she is trying to a degree with what is presented, but she is not a good Tina at all. Which sucks, because in all honesty, I think Tina would be the hardest to adapt in live action due to how animated and over the top she is as a character, which is not what Greenblatt really gave in this performance. Now, I don't know if it's the fault of the direction or she was just not a good pick for the role, but in almost the entire movie, her line delivery just felt very flatlined.
Lady's got a gut full of dynamite and a booty like, how? That's right, bitches. My big brother's about to teach you some manners.
Mayhaps, if you talk to the dwarves, you could join forces and become unstoppable, mayhaps.
Love it when bounty hunters drop by. Time to make it rain with your body parts. Oh, Creek! This fancy-ass women just pointing guns at your best friend.
I will lick your spine clean!
Hold up with psychos?
He only used to be a psycho. Now he's my big brother! Teleportation! I can move stuff with my mind, y'all!
I hope that little comparison was able to shed light on what I mean. Also, the costume department really did not do her any favors adapting her outfit. As you can see, they did take some small elements from her Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3 designs and then tried to fill the gaps with whatever they can cobble together to give it its own original style, but it just really doesn't look good in my opinion. And this isn't Ariana's fault by any chance, but boy, did it really get annoying hearing about how she is the special one over and over. That's enough about Tina. Now on to the next big elephant, Patricia Tannis. Story-wise, I understand why they went with Jamie Lee Curtis, but that doesn't mean that I have to like it. It is bad when the bartender from the first 15 minutes of the movie looks more like how Tannis would look than the person they casted. Throwing her age out of the window, Jamie just seems like she doesn't care enough about being in this movie and just doesn't really mesh well with any of her co-stars chemistry-wise. And it's a shame because I really love Jamie Lee Curtis. I liked her in all the Halloween films, and also I really liked her in Freaky Friday. Like, she has some good acting chops, but this movie really just didn't do her any favors. Next up, we're going to move on to Roland and Lilith. I'm roping them together because I feel they fall under the same problem. They don't radiate that action hero aura. With Cate Blanchett, her dead tone delivery to try and look stoic and badass, and Kevin Hart trying to make himself look really, really serious, it's hard to paint them as those characters, especially Kevin Hart. Like, height aside, it's his voice and the way he talks that holds him back. Like, let's compare Roland's.
Handsome Jack is gonna kill us all unless you can stop him.
He means hi. That's his way of saying hi.
Right. Sorry. Hi. Look, I'll be honest, soldier. We're losing this war. We've been trying to stop Jack for years, taking out his men, raiding his iridium mines, but it hasn't been enough. But you met Jack and lived. Now, we thought Jack wanted to open a vault and use its power to wipe us off Pandora, but thanks to some intel I stole from a Hyperion convoy, I found out we were wrong. The vault Jack's looking for isn't an alien prison or a cache of weapons. It's a living thing, an ancient Iridian warrior, powerful enough to destroy all life on Pandora. Whoever awakens it gets to control it.
Conscience. Whatever's in that vault, a man like Atlas can never get his hands on.
Calm down, okay? Just
No, she's a scumbag bounty hunter who works for Atlas.
But you think your band of merry heroes can stop him?
Oh, we could try. We just can't watch our backs while doing it. So do me a favor, take your weapon, toss it over here. Grab some supplies, take a walk. No, but I know someone who does. Scientist, a vault expert. It was her idea to break Tina out and collect the keys.
I'm not saying that he needs to sound like Game Roland. I'm just saying that Kevin just really doesn't work trying to sound like the action hero tough guy. He works in emotionally serious roles, I can give him that, but I can't really say that the action hero type is really his speed. But I will give props to the costume department for their outfits. They faithfully adapted Roland's look from Borderlands 2, and even though Lilith isn't accurate to any game, I can honestly see Lilith wearing something like this. It doesn't look bad at all. And second to last, we have Moxxi. I feel Moxxi has the same problem that Kevin has as Roland. Once again, I will give credit to the costume department. They did a damn good job making her look like the character they are adapting. My problem is that movie Moxxi just doesn't really have that energy that can convince me that she is the character.
The name's Moxxi. What's yours, sugar?
I am Flack, and your pheromones are overwhelming.
Guilty as charged. Have you tried my slots? Maybe you'll get lucky. Well, would you look at that? You've got the magic touch. Come back anytime, sugar. I've got a few other games we could play. You're always welcome at Moxxi's, sugar. Oh, you want what's in the vault, and given how tragically long it's been since I ran my own fighting ring, I want Torg's Coliseum for myself. I think it's time you and I became partners. With benefits. Head back to the main crater and we'll talk strategy.
On in there, Oh, you are most welcome. Milkshake for my little sugar plum, and drinks for my friends. I got something to show you. Everyone, come over here. Step into my office.
Roland?
You probably don't remember me, but I sure remember you. Your mama was a good woman. Yeah, as long as this one here don't blow up the joint. How's that milkshake there, Sugar Pie? Your buddy boy here just drank about 10 shots too many, then it dropped like a sack of potatoes.
I think you forgot, man.
And a tip is always appreciated.
It's hard for me to really put my finger on it. She looks like Moxxi, but she doesn't feel like Moxxi. Probably the voice and the mannerisms. Moxxi kind of emulates that sultry country girl vibe to the way she talks and the way she acts. And I can tell that the actress is trying to emulate it, but it doesn't really do her any favors. I may not like it, but I admire her efforts that she puts into the character. It really shows that she is trying her best to really bring that character to life, and I can give props to that. Now last, and certainly least, Atlas and Nox. They are such nothing burger villains. Atlas is the most underwhelming and pointless main villain I have ever seen in a movie. They talk so much about how much he's a threat he is, just for him to show up, spit some typical crazy corporate villain jargon, and then die. That's pretty much all he amounts to. And on top of that, he pretty much stands out like a sore thumb, like in every scene. Atlas really does not look like he belongs in this movie at all. And it's odd because we had corporate villains inside of the world of Borderlands, but he just doesn't blend. Like, he looks like he's from a different set. Honestly, he fits more like a 007 villain henchman than as a big bad antagonist of Borderlands. And for Nox, on the other hand, she kind of suffers from that same problem that Captain Phasma has in Star Wars. She does take action throughout the movie, and she has given the heroes some problems, but all in all, she dies unceremoniously. Hell, her little side plot about recruiting psychos with the Crimson Lance pretty much amounts to virtually nothing aside from a cameo by Mouthpiece in the final battle, who is Crom for some reason, who is an entirely different villain, but aside from that, there's really nothing more I can say about them. All in all, there's just so much wrong with this movie, and it honestly didn't really need to turn out like this, especially when adaptations like Cyberpunk Edgerunners, Arcane, and Fallout were really able to make very good adaptations of their video game source material. There have been way more ways that they could have saved it and make it work for the fans and audiences alike. And honestly, what makes Borderlands so special was how stylistic these games were. And that could have been greatly represented through an animated romp, in my honest opinion. I think it should not have been this big silver screen blockbuster that is very by the numbers. Honestly, I feel a nice, condensed, small screen contained story to get people immersed in this world with Borderlands, it could have worked, and most likely with very good writing, probably get people to want to get more into the games, similar to how a lot of people bought into Cyberpunk because of Edgerunners. And I'd say it worked for Telltale's Tales of the Borderlands, and that was in video game format. They pretty much emulated the feeling of watching a series while making it interactable. Not saying the show has to directly do Tales of the Borderlands, but I'm sure you probably understand where I'm coming from. It could honestly be about their own original group of Vault Hunters, separate from the Crimson Raiders, with its own stakes, villains, motivations, everything. Or maybe something about Typhon DeLeon, the first Vault Hunter that was introduced in Borderlands 3, or anything about this vast world. There's so much things that are uncovered that could be really touched upon, like maybe an anthology, something, you know, something that could have brought some life to this. But if there could have been anything fixed about this movie, if I were to be frank, I'd start with the gunplay. Borderlands has a plethora of gun manufacturers that could have been a good action spectacle. Hell, TDR alone could have carried so much of the action because of how versatile. You have gun drones, gun grenades, gun flying drones, homing guns. Like, imagine the possibilities just off of that one simple thing. But it's pretty much held back. And plus, if I were to add on more on what could be done with this, the movie could have really used something that would have pushed the envelope into giving it its own identity. Watching this movie feels like they wanted their lightning in a bottle Guardians of the Galaxy type adventure, but really ended up sticking the landing as good as Joss Whedon's Justice League. And there is so much that could have been explored if some risks could have been taken, but we're left with something that plays itself safe to a fault. I could even talk about the fact that there was a lot of content cut involving Hammerlock and Jacobs, but I really, in my honest opinion, spoke enough about this film's issues. Now, look, I'm going to say this now. I'm not going to sit here and say that you're wrong for liking this movie if you do. Art is subjective. There will always be an audience for something. I just wanted to give my own personal thoughts on this matter as a passionate Borderlands fan who has been with this series since its inception, who wants the best for this franchise. And if you made it this far, I appreciate it. It's really the first video of its kind for this channel, and it's been something I wanted to do for a long time, with more to come in due time. But I hope you enjoyed this little bit of hindsight and little piece of my mind, and I hope you all have a good one. My name is TJ Gold, and I'm signing off.